first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my former son a second chance? I, 48 male, find out my ex, 49 female, had cheated on me and that the 2 children she had given birth to, 23 female and 21 male, only one, the girl, was mine. I filed for divorce and my ex tried for reconciliation, but I couldn't live with so much doubt. Once we got to court, it was like a switch had flipped and she tried to keep me from the children. It didn't work though. I had really good lawyers. In spite of everything, I was willing to still be a father to Noah, fake name, but my ex can be very manipulative. She told Noah about his real dad and even introduced them. Since then, I became the strict fake dad, while he was the cool real dad. When Noah was 13, he told me that he no longer wanted to see me and that he'd tell a judge the same thing if I forced visitation. I asked him why and if I ever made him feel bad. Noah just said that he wanted to spend more time with his real dad and didn't like my house rules. I was heartbroken, but I let him go and still made attempts to keep the relationship. I called, texted, sent presents, and even invited him to events. Noah wouldn't respond nor pass small messages to his sister. When Noah was 18, he illegally changed his surname to his father's and told me there wasn't enough room for me to attend his graduation. After that, I gave up and resolved myself to live life with being a father to my daughter and son, 12 male, via my second wife. Recently, Noah reached out to me and apologized for his past actions and wanted a relationship again. I was surprised and heavily skeptical, and was right to be so. Apparently, Noah's real dad got married and his wife gave him an ultimatum, and he chose her. I told Noah that, while I'm sorry for what happened to him, I had no interest in being treated like an old pair of gloves that you only think about and wear when it gets cold. My ex thinks I'm being hurtful and petty, rich coming from her, and my daughter says that she understands my pain, but hopes that I can learn to give Noah a second chance. I just don't know, because I'm in a place where I'm fine not having Noah in my life or having any communication with him, and I don't want to rekindle a relationship just for him to drop me again when his real dad changes his mind. Am I the a-hole? Edit for info. Just to be clear, because I keep seeing this. I divorced my ex when Noah was 6. My ex told Noah the truth about his parentage when he was 10, and his real dad came into his life at around 12. This all didn't just happen when he was 13. By the time he reached that age, he already had at least a year to process the information. When I asked my daughter, since Noah wasn't talking to me, if she thought her mom was pushing Noah to say those things, she said no. Apparently, Noah wanted to spend time with his dad, but because of his work schedule, it wasn't always often. But when it could happen, it was conveniently during my scheduled time with Noah. I tried to see if I could work something out, but my ex and Noah refused any compromise. Now for the top judgment. Not the a-hole. There's a high likelihood Noah was being manipulated into cutting contact, considering his own mother is extremely manipulative, and his own father discarded him so easily. He grew up lost, and is still lost as an adult. His actions sucked in the past, and they don't necessarily have to be forgiven. But you can at least try to guide him somewhat so he doesn't end up down the wrong path from his tumultuous childhood. If you don't, that's understandable too, as his actions have consequences. Hell, at least he'll learn that if you push hard enough against someone trying to help, they may not want you back in their life later. Seconding this OP, just wanted to add that if you decide to give him a chance, go slow and steady. If you want, you can try therapy for the two of you. Not the a-hole. You won't be the a-hole even if you decide not to, because that's quite a difficult situation to be in, considering the past. But my ex can be very manipulative. Your ex likely manipulated him into being that way as a teenager, it seems, from your story. I'd say not the a-hole, but I think you should give him a chance. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. It seems way too suspicious that a 13-year-old just cut off all contact with a person he called father for at least 12 years before. Not the a-hole. You were under no obligation to welcome him back with open arms. Frankly, I'd be incredibly suspicious. As is so often the case when family makes contact after years of no contact, he wants something, even if that something is just to alleviate his own guilt. That he only reached out after his bio father tossed him out is not really your problem. What was the basis of this so-called ultimatum that the new wife gave that forced any kind of choice on the bio father? That itself sounds suspicious. Was bio father supporting him or giving him money and/or a place to live? What possible conflict could there be with a 21-year-old adult child that would force a choice? There are a lot of missing details to the son's story that all go toward his credibility, and the reason he's suddenly so interested in a relationship. It's been over 8 years since you've had any meaningful contact, and probably a lot longer since you've had a paternal relationship with him, probably since the actual divorce. He's essentially a stranger to you. Why is everyone else so interested and invested in your rekindling a relationship with a stranger? Frankly, it would take years to get to know the person he is today. Isn't 21 right around the time you start paying back the student loans? Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for spending $6,000 in my daughter's room and refusing to do the same with my stepdaughters? I, male 42, have a 16-year-old chronically ill daughter and her name is Lauren. She's the light of my life, best thing that ever happened to me, and it's absolutely devastating to see her struggle like that every day. She spent time being in and out of the hospital dealing with several issues related to her condition, and she's getting exhausted. Doctors arranged for her to be going to outpatient clinic to receive treatment and said it was best for her to get rest as much as possible. From what the doctor said, and being too concerned and also her behavior, I just knew. I have this gut feeling Lauren might not live more than a few months. She's back in her home, her room where she grew up and had beautiful memories with her mom. She spends most of her time there. Lately, she's been asking to eat her favorite meals, / go to her favorite places and things like that. I try to do all I can to make that happen. She showed me several bedroom decorations and designs and expressed her admiration for one of those bedrooms. I talked to my wife about wanting to redecorate Lauren's bedroom and get her the design she liked since it's her wish, and she has the right to have it after all she's been through. My wife was okay at first. It cost me $6,000. It's very modern and chic. Lauren was happy, and she lightened up. My stepdaughter Reeve, 12, saw it and threw a tantrum, asking why Lauren got her room decorated and not hers. I thought we were already aware of Lauren's situation. Suddenly, my wife said maybe I should get Eve's room redecorated as well, since it was obvious she wanted the same thing. Well, first off, all the money was pulled out the emergency fund I put aside for Lauren. And also, I can't afford to pay another $6,000 to get Eve's room decorated right now. I have responsibilities and Lauren's situation is different. When my wife argued that I was avoiding responsibility for messing up, I told her to her face that Lauren may not be around in a few months, and this was her wish, and she should understand and respect her wish instead of encouraging Eve and telling me to pull another $6,000 from the emergency fund for Eve's room. My wife says she understands, but that was the right thing to do if I don't want to cause difference in treatment between the girls and resentment. I lashed out. I just snapped. I told her she was being reasonable and should just either stop bringing it up or use her money to redecorate Eve's room since it couldn't wait. It got too much. I didn't want Lauren to notice the drama and feel guilty and be robbed from her joy and excitement of her new room. I worked hard to make sure all her wishes are respected. The issue is still here, and I feel helpless because Eve deserves a room too, but I can't afford to pay anymore. My daughter suffers from heart failure. She has a medical device VAD to help and support heart function. She can't do most things on her own. She's constantly tired and out of breath. Fluids built up in her legs. She deals with other issues which are worse, but the worst is her inability to breathe properly. I've been told that my daughter may not be able to wait any longer till she gets heart transplant. We've been waiting for a while and her health has been declining, and the device is there to help her till she gets her operation, but she may not wait for more than a few months. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. Make it an age thing. Just tell everyone that she will get to redo her room when she's 16 like Lauren. Then you and your wife can start setting aside money for it now. This is perfect. Sweet 16 present. In the meantime, she should still get a makeover with maybe an accent wall, fresh paint, new blankets or art. I think she probably is feeling very left out though, even though Lauren is so sick and you might imagine she should understand. Please make sure you are spending time with her alone, as a family, and making both girls feel special as individuals. Therapy might be good too, since having such an ill family member is incredibly scary. It also takes the focus off the healthy kids in a way that can't be avoided, and that hurts. So maybe a good option as well. Not a-hole. She's dying for goodness sake. Your wife should take this as an opportunity to teach her daughter empathy. I think you, Eve, and your wife might benefit from some family counseling to really bring forth that sometimes life isn't fair, but you love both Lauren and Eve. But sometimes people's circumstances are different, so they get different treatment. I really don't have a judgment here. This is heavy stuff. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for testifying against my family in court? So, long story. We'll call my one brother 33 male, Chris. Chris has a baby mama and 2 kids with her. We've known her for almost 10 years. Kids are younger, 5 and 2. They were engaged, but it turned out she wouldn't marry him until she started treating his issues. So, flashback about the time they started dating. Chris was already an alcoholic and living with us while I was in high school. He'd just gotten out of the military, so he was figuring stuff out. While here, he tried to take over as a disciplinary figure for me, 25 female currently, since my father had moved across the country for work. This didn't go well. He ended up getting kicked out and eventually came back and lived with us for a few months because my parents always continued to give chances. Fast forward, I'm finally out of that place and in college, and he knocks up his baby mama for the first time. He isn't treating her well at all, to sugarcoat things. I'm still at school knowing this is going on, and I reach out to baby mama every now and then, letting her know that she has a support system and that she'll always have someone there for her if she needs anything. Fast forward again, and it's Thanksgiving a couple years ago. I've finally grown into my own person, and I don't put up with people being treated poorly, whether it be myself or others. I notice that he's still displaying toxic and horrible behavior towards her, and I make a comment trying to deflect from her and bring the attention on me. Their toddler was present. Later, things escalate dramatically. My parents tell him to leave or they'll call the cops. Sugar-coated. This is where the conflict really starts. After a couple weeks, my family pretty much brushes everything off and I'm the one making waves and making everything uncomfortable. The only person on my side is my oldest brother, 36 male, who lives out of state. It gets to the point where I limit contact with all of them for a couple years. Which brings us to now. My parents at least see that Chris for who he really is. They rarely ever speak out against it though, and they rarely see him now. The rest of the family still treats him like he's a god who was in the Marines for 4 years. The courts temporarily grant custody to baby mama due to COVID. Suddenly, he is suing baby mama for full custody and wanting her to pay child support. He brags about how much he makes, and it's what makes him a man in his mind. The family that worships him is testifying about how great he is. And then there's me. I actually reached out to baby mama and tell her that I'll tell everything to the courts in her defense, and she agrees. So, I'm testifying against my brother, and my parents sort of understand, but the rest of the family has completely rejected me, as in literally refusing to invite me to a close family wedding. Am I the a-hole? Extra info. The stuff I described that he's done is literally the tip of the iceberg, and unfortunately I currently can't give more in-depth details. Not the a-hole. He's abusive and your family's enabling his behavior. I hope he doesn't get custody. Good luck. You're doing what's best for the child and the mom. You've said you had already started distancing yourself from your family. I didn't think they would want to associate with you after that. Good luck. Not the a-hole. And I'm going to be blunt here, OP. Your parents are a-holes in this situation too. They are choosing 1. Your brother's pride over the well-being of their grandchildren. 2. To let you be offered up to the sharks of the family. By not speaking out against him, they're increasing the chances that he can inflict immense pain on those kids. By not speaking out against him, they're communicating to the rest of the family that you are out of line. They need to be adults and treat your brother like an adult as well. They need to stop giving him a mask of respectability within the family and outside it. They're enabling his behavior even if they no longer see him. That does not help. They're letting him control his own narrative, and there's so much destruction that can lie in its wake. They raised him into the man he is today. They need to take responsibility for that. His actions are not their crimes, but them refusing to be honest about his feelings shields him. I think the way you worded this is perfect, and everyone even remotely close to this kind of situation should hear this. Brilliant. Not the a-hole. Think about it. I'm assuming if you don't testify, you're ruining an innocent child's life who'll have to live with a proven abuser. He's even admitted to all of it in a previous trial, so the fact that he thinks it won't come up again is mind-blowing. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's wife she cannot make me her children's legal guardian? My dad got married 2 years ago. His wife has 3 young kids under the age of 6. I, 20 female, was out of the house when they moved in together. They moved in together about 2 months before they got married. And I don't have much contact with them because I go to college and work several states away from them. I say this because back in April, my dad asked me would I be willing to be the kid's guardian should he and his wife pass away. I said no. He said he understood and that they would figure something else out. His wife then asked me the same question and I gave her the same response. Twice more she called after that, and then in December she called again, more ready than ever. She told me that I would be the only option for the kids because she has no family and my dad's family don't want to take them either. She asked would I really not want my siblings if they were gone. I said they're not my siblings, and no, I do not want to be responsible for them if she and my dad were to pass. She said she would write it out on her will anyway, and I told her she can't because I do not want to take them, and she will mess with them more if she doesn't find someone else. She said it was rude to tell her what she could and couldn't do, especially regarding her kids. My dad said he knows she pushed, but I need to understand they are worried about what could happen and it never hurts to have a plan in place. So, he would like me to smooth things over with his wife. So tell me, Reddit, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She cannot make you their guardian no matter what she puts in writing in her estate documents. She can say these are her wishes, but she cannot force this to be done, especially since she'll be dead. We found out that there is absolutely nothing stopping our family from contesting our wishes for our daughter if something happened to us. We want our close friends to take her, not our parents or siblings, but they can't challenge that, and it is always up to family court to affirm that our chosen guardian is suitable for the responsibility. That is true, but if you very explicitly explain in your will exactly why you don't want certain relatives to get guardianship, and you have good reasons, the judge is unlikely to overrule your wishes. Not the a-hole. You are not obligated to become anyone else's legal guardian, not even close kin. That they are not respecting your decision, which you do not have to justify or explain, is telling. They also cannot force you into that position by just writing it into the will. They need to be told to get a realistic option prepared that is not you. Do not smooth things over with her by capitulating to any of these nonsense. Not the a-hole. It's creepy that they are planning to so intently for their demise. I do get that she wants to know her kids would be taken care of, but if someone says no to it, then you need to figure something else out instead of leaving it so there will be nothing planned. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.
Update. My brother-in-law just told my wife he is in love with her. Original post. Yesterday, my brother-in-law out of the blue asked my wife if she could meet him for lunch because there was something he needed to talk to her about. My wife told me before accepting and asked if it might have something to do with my sister. Maybe they were having problems and he wanted to discuss it with another woman. I found it odd but told her to go find out. She accepted, and they met for lunch at a place near her office the next day. That's when he told her he was in love with her. He laid it on thick, how beautiful she is, how she makes him feel, how he would treat her if she were his, how it was love at first sight, blah blah blah. Mind you, this man is married to my sister and has 2 kids. He and my wife had a friendly relationship. Our families see each other often as we are a close family. He does text her frequently, but there was nothing overly sexual. My brother-in-law also texts and calls my mom, so none of us thought anything of it. I want to emphasize that my wife isn't cheating on me with him. My wife and I share an iPad, and I see every one of her texts there. We also look at each other's phones all the time, so none of that is going on. She didn't let him finish, walked out, and called me immediately to tell me what happened. While she was on the phone with me, texts from him started coming in. He said he didn't mean it, that he thought it was only infatuation, blah blah blah. She left work early to come home and talk to me about it, and her phone was blowing up the entire time with calls and texts from him. I told her to answer, and she put him on speaker so I could hear. He was crying and begging her not to tell my sister. Apparently, when we were together this past weekend, he thought she was flirting with him and believed they had a moment when they were alone in our kitchen. Now my wife is a major ball buster, and I suppose I can see how that could be misinterpreted as flirting. He asked if she had told me, to which I answered yes as I was on speaker. Then he started begging me. This went on for a while. My main question was whether he had cheated on my sister before. He said no, swore on his kids' lives, and claimed it was just my wife. He said I should understand. At that point, I was done listening and told him I wasn't going to do anything that night and would call him tomorrow. That's where we are right now, and I really don't know what to do. My wife says to drive over there right now and tell my sister, but the idea of wrecking my sister's family is killing me. Thinking about what it will do to my nieces makes me want to vomit. I know the right thing to do is tell my sister, but I'm also thinking about my wife. It's not her fault, but there is sure to be resentment toward her from my family. Even if my sister doesn't divorce him and they reconcile, I can't see how we would ever be together again like we were before, if at all. This whole episode could tear my family apart. I don't give a damn about him. He tried to destroy my family, but I do care about everyone else. I don't know what to do. Any advice will help. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. He does text her frequently, but there was nothing overly sexual. So since the constant texts to your wife from your sister's husband were only a bit sexual, you let it slide? Anyway, I can't believe you didn't go straight to your sister, tell her, and beat his ass. The texts never crossed the line. I see all of them, and he knows that. We are a family. It never occurred to me or my wife that things could take this turn. Like I said, my wife is a ball buster, and she treated him like a brother, like family. You are not wrecking her marriage. He is doing that. You will be wrecking your relationship with your sister if you don't tell. And you should be the one to tell her. Your wife should not be involved in that conversation. You don't want her to be a target of your sister's anger. Go to your sister's house in the morning. Do not warn him. Be straightforward and bring snapshots of the texts he sent. I don't think my sister will be angry with my wife, but how do you not feel some form of resentment? Now for the first update. Everyone who told me last night that I couldn't wait to tell my sister was right. A little after midnight, I got a call from my sister saying she had to tell me that my wife had tried to start an affair with her husband. So he tried to pin it on her. I told her that wasn't the case and that I would be right over. I got on the phone, woke my mother and father, told them what was going on, then woke my younger brother and told him. My mom and dad headed to my sister's to sit with her kids, and my brother came to our house to sit with ours. My wife and I headed over. My sister was out on the front porch with my brother-in-law when we got there. He looked beaten. He knew we had texts and voicemail. I really don't know what he was hoping to accomplish. My wife gave my sister her phone. She saw the texts, listened to the voicemails, and he started sobbing before she could say anything. My brother-in-law is a firefighter, a big tough guy, so this was a scene. My sister is pretty tough. She told him to stop it, pack a bag, and go. She couldn't stand to look at him. There was more begging, but she had no patience for it. My sister walked off to talk with my wife. I saw them hugging, so at least I felt like they were okay. They've actually been friends since college. I met my wife through my sister, so they're tight. The thought of this wrecking their friendship had been weighing on me. This left me with my brother-in-law. He was broken, so I felt more sympathy than anger. He said he was sorry, that he just couldn't help it. It's not hard to fall in love with my wife, so I get it. But damn, man. He eventually picked himself up and left. We stayed there all night. My sister started asking my wife why her husband would think any of this would work out. He had to have some reason to believe she felt the same way. My sister said they hadn't been having problems. Everything was as it had always been. My wife was crying at this point and said, "There's nothing you haven't seen." She gave my sister her phone again, and they read every text ever sent over the past 2 years. Nothing there. My wife was just herself. She has a playful personality, and so does my brother-in-law, so they teased each other. She does the same with my mom and younger brother. The only thing she could think of was the moment in the kitchen this past weekend he referenced. They both went for the fridge at the same time and playfully jostled over who would get there first. He let her win, but reached around her waist to get a beer slowly, and she did feel the way he did it was a little inappropriate. She said she should have called him on it, but didn't want to make it a big thing. She feels maybe the fact that she didn't give him hope. My sister doesn't blame her, so at least that's good. Then my sister started going through his MacBook to see what else she didn't know about. She was angry and frantic at this point. She guessed the password, started searching, and found a lot of pictures of my wife on that computer. They went back years and were always isolated shots of just her. We had gone as couples to the Caribbean a few years earlier. My wife wore a bikini. She usually doesn't, but since it was adults only, she did. There were probably 50 photos of her in that bathing suit. So he's been secretly snapping these for years. Does this now enter restraining order territory? This has taken a creepy turn. I'll update when I have more. Second update. I've shared many of your comments with my wife. It makes her feel better that virtually everyone here holds her blameless, so thank you. Unfortunately, the mess continues. My sister agreed to talk to her husband last night and let him explain. She put my wife on FaceTime during the conversation, so there would be no lying. I was listening in as well, off camera. My sister was also recording the whole thing. He admitted he's been obsessed with my wife for years. It started the day he met her. My wife and I were dating at the time, but he met her before he met me. Like I said, my wife and sister are longtime friends, and my sister wanted to introduce her boyfriend to her friends. He thought it was only physical for a while, but over a time he knew it was more. My sister nearly kicked him out right there, but listened a little more. She eventually asked what made him think my wife would leave me for him. He answered that there was obviously mutual attraction, and he figured it would begin as an affair and then progress from there. My wife and sister exploded at that point. A lot of cussing and screaming. The phone call ended. My wife hung up because she was concerned for me. She was shaken and distraught, assuring me the attraction was one-sided. I never thought it wasn't. Even if she did find him physically attractive, I know she would never act on it. She's just not the type. Early in our relationship, she caught me admiring her as she was dressing, asked if I liked what I saw, then her face turned cold, and she told me never to screw up or I'd never see it again. She meant it. She's serious about trust. Anyway, I knew my brother-in-law was a little cocky, but I never knew he thought so highly of himself to think he could pull something like this off. I talked to my sister later, and she's contacting a lawyer Monday to see what steps she can take to limit his exposure to her kids. As far as she's concerned, he's detached from reality. That's all I have for now. I'll update once the dust settles a bit. My wife and I were talking about this, and that's what we thought. He wanted to start an affair and then go from there. There is no way to recover from asking your sister-in-law to have an affair if the feeling isn't mutual. You've torched everything. Incredibly high-risk gambit with low success potential. But he would have done this sooner or later, with or without the kitchen incident. He had made comments to me many times through the years that my wife was out of my league. I would just laugh and agree she is. I guess he thought his gamble was not so high risk. What a creepy scumbag. It was his resentment and obsession showing. He was trying to put you down when he said those things. You and your wife should try to get a restraining order on him. The depths of his obsession are extremely concerning, and I wouldn't put it past him to do something bad to you guys. He's like a cornered rat now, and the cornered rat often bites the cat. Now for the last update. This is likely to be my final update, as I don't see much more happening after this besides divorce proceedings. Thanks for all the comments. They have helped my wife with the guilt. Anyway, my brother-in-law returned home yesterday, not because my sister wants him back, but because she can't legally stop him. They are done. I think he realizes that now. The lawyer told my sister that since my brother-in-law's behavior over the past few days has been documented, there is a good chance she will be granted full custody. He doesn't even seem to want to fight her on that. My sister will be fine. Any love she had for him is gone, and she doesn't seem too broken up about it. The kids don't know what happened yet, but my brother-in-law was never around much anyway when they were home. He slept at the fire station many nights and put in a lot of overtime. But it is certain to be hard on them once they know what's going to happen. Many commenters have said that there must be more women, but as far as we can tell, there haven't been. It's really just the obsession with my wife. She has blocked his phone, but on the same night he returned home, he sent my wife an email from an account he had just made. It started with an apology, but then took a turn. He said he never got to finish at the restaurant that day, then went on for paragraphs about all the things he loves about my wife and the desperation he felt that led him to do what he did. He mentioned their mutual attraction again, and the sexual tension he always felt was between them, and ended with a rather large section about me. Let's just say I didn't know he had such a low opinion of me. He was quite certain that I was not satisfying my wife properly. Anyway, we sent the email to my sister, and it will go to the lawyer. It might be enough to get him removed from the house. Finally, my wife isn't great, but she is doing better every day. She does blame herself for being too comfortable around my brother-in-law. She is always careful to set boundaries with other men. In case you haven't figured it out already, my wife is pretty stunning and gets a lot of male attention. But with my brother-in-law, she felt safe to be herself. Since he was family, surely no lines would be crossed. She and my sister are cool, and there doesn't appear to be any resentment, so that makes me happy. We will all be okay. It will just take time. Thanks to all who commented and voiced their support. What a bomb that he threw in to blow everything up. Please take steps to secure your home and car. Recommend a restraining order so he can't come around trying to explain, convince, or apologize to your wife. Hoping your sister can do what needs to be done and move on to a better life. I don't think my brother-in-law is dangerous, just conceited. The guy was quite the ladies' man before getting married and still got plenty of attention even after. His ego is bruised, but I do have cameras and an alarm. Thank you for sharing this sad story. It has been helpful for me. My wife has been casually pursued by a married member of my club, and she is usually too surprised and modest to assume what he's after. When he first started, my wife thought it was just harmless banter, but I didn't, and told her I didn't think so. As it continued, she finally realized I was right, so when I had to tell him to knock it off, she was relieved. It took 3 incidents for him to finally get the message. My wife is mad at herself because she's usually so careful. She's had so many incidents when she was younger with guys she was friendly to that ended up making unwanted advances. So this guy was at your wedding? I wonder what he was thinking at the wedding. He was one of my groomsmen. He got very drunk. Last story. I ruined my brother's marriage without meaning to. My brother's wife has always been flirty. She's the kind of person who makes playful comments, touches your arm when she laughs, and leans in a little too close during conversations. I always brushed it off as her personality. Honestly, I never saw her as anything more than my brother's spouse, and I figured the teasing was harmless. A couple of months ago, we had a big family barbecue at my parents' house. Everyone was drinking, laughing, and catching up. Late into the evening, while we were standing near the grill, she made a joke in front of a few people about me looking better than her husband. I laughed awkwardly, said something to change the subject, and moved on. I didn't think much of it at the time. It was just another one of her random comments. A few days later, out of nowhere, my brother called me. He was furious, yelling into the phone before I could even say hello. He accused me of sleeping with his wife years ago before they got married. I was completely blindsided. According to him, she told him we had hooked up once and she had kept it to herself until now. I was stunned. That never happened. I've never even been alone in a room with her. I tried to tell him the truth, but he refused to listen. He said he believed her because she had no reason to lie. He hung up on me and hasn't answered my calls or texts since. It got worse. My parents called me shortly after, both of them clearly angry and disappointed. They said they were ashamed and that I had crossed a line. No matter what I said, they wouldn't believe me either. It's my word against hers, and in their eyes, I'm guilty. The most frustrating part is that I have no way to prove my innocence. There are no texts, no photos, no witnesses, because nothing happened. but in the absence of proof, they're taking her side. I've lost my brother. My relationship with my parents has been severely damaged, and now there's this cloud of suspicion hanging over me for something I didn't even do. Ask her to prove it. To name a single mark, scar, mole, or tattoo, if you have them, on your body that isn't visible to the public. Also, any form of communication between you that goes back that far. If you were shagging, surely she'd have messages or something from you during that time. That's the best way. My husband's ex-friend tried to claim he had hooked up with me, so he asked if he noted something weird. He said yes, but couldn't say what, so my husband didn't believe him. I have a chipped tooth that is not visible, and I don't mention it. Pretty embarrassed about why it's chipped. He knows. Why did she do this? She is so strange. My sibling's spouse decided to tell a lie that didn't involve sex, but was something they knew would cause a family rift. So, yep, sibling picked spouse, and there's tension with parents. The spouse has slowly been isolating my sibling from their support system in my case, right down to friends. Sometimes it's simply for the drama, attention, or so no one can raise the alarm if things aren't cool. That sounds like classic manipulation and isolation tactics. Cutting someone off from family and friends makes it easier to control them and rewrite the truth.